Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show here on the WZWA Network. I am your host with the most on the West Coast, Karlifornia Infirri, and tonight is an exciting night for yours truly. And I'll get to that in a minute because what we have right here is a very, very special guest, and I'll explain that afterward. This guest right here is the daughter of none other than the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith. Her name is Joose Smith. Georgia, how are you going? Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on, and it's been an interesting year, but we're going to end it good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And this podcast started because of the pandemic and because me and my friends were bored. And with me being kind of a wrestling historian at the age of 33, I know quite a lot about wrestling at my age, and we figured let's do this podcast, and all of a sudden it's grown so much. And
Great.
You're probably maybe our 30th or 31st guest or something around there, but this is what's important about this interview. It has taken me this long, since February when we started, to finally get a female guest on the show. So you are the first female guest. And it is so amazing for me to finally have a lady on the show. So thank you.
Awesome. I can't believe I'm the first lady. I feel like I'm the queen or something, the first lady.
You are now. You're definitely one of the most important interviews that we're going to have because of this fact. And I'll tell you, I've emailed several personalities in the business who are female and just have never had a reply, but you immediately responded, so I appreciate that, and I'm really looking forward to this chat.
Yeah, I'm excited.
But we do have, look, this is really nerdy of me. We do have some special guests with me here today. And this is really nerdy, but look, I had to bring on your uncle, Brett the Hitman Hart, right there.
Right there.
I had to bring on your other uncle, Owen, who's...
Oh, very nice.
Look, I did figurine wrestling when I was a kid, so it was very serious business. So Owen's a little bit worse for wear there because, you know, I utilized that figurine quite a lot. And of course, your father right there.
Oh, there he is. Hello, Father.
Pumping the pythons. I thought I'd be nerdy and just show you my figurines.
Thank you. You got the top three there.
That's it. So Georgia, very excited to talk to you today, to talk to you about your father. But I really wanted to get to know you as well. And first question I really had was, when did you first realize your father was famous?
Oh boy. Well, it was always kind of just the way it was growing up. Like I didn't have it any other way. It was just all I knew. But the couple of times I knew something was different was when I took him to school, or I think it was like bring your parents to school, or he picked me up and there was just the swarm of kids there. And they were like, oh my God, and wanting autographs and pictures. And then there was another time at Disney World when we were walking around and a person dressed up as Mickey Mouse came up and asked my dad for his autograph. And I was like, wow, Mickey Mouse is asking Davey for his autograph. So those were two kind of things that stuck out. But, ever since I can remember, my dad was always on TV. And as you may know, or other people might know, I refer to my dad as Davey, was because, the first, I don't know how many years of my life, he was on TV. It was Davey. And then when he was home, my mom would call him Davey. So, it was always just that was my life.
Yeah, I find it fascinating to ask you about having a father who is famous, because I just want to know what that feels like. And going to school with a famous father, did you have kids at school tease you about wrestling, or were there some boys that liked wrestling that hung around you like a bad smell? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, there was like some kids that like they made comments about wrestling, like being fake. And they would be like, oh, your dad does the fake stuff, or your dad doesn't do the real stuff, or your dad, I've seen him do the fake things. And it's like, when you hear that and you see how long my dad was gone for and all the injuries he'd come home with and how tired he would be, it would be like, no, my dad, what he does is not fake. Clearly puts his, body on the line, every time he's wrestling. So those comments annoyed me. And then there was just some kids that like maybe wouldn't have, I was never popular in school. I was never cool. I was never, but you know, maybe like a popular kid or, you know, some kids wouldn't ever give me the time of day until, oh, there's British Bulldog pulling up. Oh, well, we got to talk to Georgia. Like that was kind of the way it was when I was in school. But, you know, kids are kids.
Kids will find anything if they can find the smallest detail, they'll zero in on that detail to make fun of you over it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So those were kind of some examples of that. But for the most part, I had a pretty positive experience because, you know, whenever my dad came around, it was, you know, kids loved it. And they'd always be so happy to see him. And I'd get kids like, can I have his autograph? And I always try to, you know, accommodate. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, from my experience in school, you had to keep it quiet that you were a wrestling fan because apparently that made you gay because you watched men in underwear fight one another. You know, see, kids will find any way to make fun of you. You know, my name is Carl, so I get called Carly. My surname is Infirri, so I get called inferior, infertile, all these different horrible nicknames that people would give you just to make fun of you. So I thought it was important to ask you about what it was like going through school with kids in the way that they are.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But, you know, when my dad died, obviously going back to school, you know, I had like a week or two off and then I had to go back to school with exams because he died a little before the summer. So I had to do that. And then I got a lot of questions from kids and that wasn't too fun. That wasn't, no. But
I can imagine, yeah. So the next part I want to get to is Hart family memories. Gosh, I mean, it's such a big family. I know Stu and Helen had about 500 children.
Yeah.
And that's an exaggeration, obviously. You have 41 cousins, am I correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, that's crazy. Did you have any cousins you forgot the name of? I mean, that's quite a lot of.
No. Fortunately, knock on wood. No, none yet.
But I wanted to know what like big family gatherings like a Christmas would be like. I mean, with so many people in the family, I mean, it must have been fun. There's so many kids to play with and play games with and stuff, and you got your uncles there. What's a Christmas like in the Hart house?
It was pretty amazing because it was like the best food, the best people there, always laughing, lots and lots of animals, if you already didn't know. Luckily, I would only buy like gifts for like my mom, my dad, my cousins, Lindsay and Brooke, and maybe like some other cousins, like maybe a few, but that was it. Like, no way I'm buying every single person. And also like most of them didn't really come to my grandpa's house because, you know, they kind of lived a bit of ways. But yeah, it was really, really fun. I miss like, now it's like Christmases are so lonely because it's like there's nothing, well, I mean, obviously right now with everything going on, but you know, I miss the Hart house and I miss, you know, the family gatherings and seeing everybody and the food and the dungeon, or obviously at winter time right now, the wrestling ring wouldn't be up outside, but we'd have the basement and play in there. You know, my grandfather had a beautiful house. He had, you know, oriental stunning rugs, lovely furniture, lovely chandeliers. Each room had like a piece of history in it. And, you know, it's I had a really good childhood. So yeah.
That's cool. I saw in a documentary, your Uncle Brett was sitting next to an electric chair with a doll in it in your grandfather's house. That must have scared you.
That was at Brett's house.
Oh, that was at Brett's house. Okay. But that must have scared you, right?
Yeah. I remember going to Brett's house for a barbecue. My cousins were like, come downstairs. So when I go downstairs and then they press the button and it's like, ah. Yeah, that was pretty terrifying. I mean, I wouldn't want to send a child, you know, like a toddler or a old person down there. Not good, but yeah, that was terrifying. But you know, Brett had a lot of things in his house like that. He had like the replica heads, or like the actual heads from the sets of like the Predator and the Alien movies. He had those in his house. Yeah.
I
Like Thursday,
just always
Thursday.
remembered that, and I thought that was very terrifying when I first saw that.
Yeah, it was terrifying. Yeah.
So speaking of your uncles, you have some fun blokes that are your uncles, Owen, Jim the Anvil Neidhart. Do you have any funny stories or memories of Owen and Anvil and maybe what they would get up to if there's a family gathering?
Well, they were pretty, like, I don't really have any like too funny stories, but I remember like when, Owen and Brett weren't getting along, like in the storylines, like they kept it going, like at family dinners and stuff. I mean, at least in front of the kids, they did. They kept it going. And, Jim would do that too. Yeah, I remember that. Jim was just always just funny and charismatic, lots of personality. It was always, Jim was like the life of the party. Jim really was. So that's what I remember about him. Never a dull moment with him. A funny story about Owen, that just at the top of my head, was I remember him and my dad, they put, I think it was, remember Henry Godwin had the goats and the pigs, and when they would come down to the ring, the mud and the slop or whatever. So they put a couple of goats in Vince's office. My dad and Owen did. And they shut the door, and those goats like shredded up all this paper, and Vince comes in and they're like, man, and they're chowing down on his files. And he was like, Bulldog, Owen. But it was just something innocent. And what could you do? But yeah, those farm animals sure had fun in that office.
Actually, we interviewed Mark Merrow not long ago, and Mark told us a story of a prank that Owen played on him and Bulldog. They were in a room together talking over the match just before they were about to go out to the ring, and they went to open the door, and the door wouldn't open. And Mark said he could hear his theme song playing, and they're locked in this room, and Bulldog is going, it was fucking Owen. It was fucking Owen. I'm telling you, it's Owen. So Owen, I think it was a house show or something like that, but Owen locked him in a room, and they were late for their match.
My God, that is so funny. Yeah, he did things like that. Oh God. If you follow my dad's Instagram page, I have a clip on there. It was from a while ago, but it's like a prank my dad and Owen did, like on the phone. They were just calling like random hotel rooms in the Boston area and different wrestlers' rooms. And they're like, we have this deal on pizza. And they're like, oh no, we're not hungry. Ma'am, I'm working a commission here. And like Owen's being really pushy and just really annoying. And like, he just won't stop. And he's like, okay, come on. But you have to check that out. You'll really like that.
I'll definitely check it out. I just followed it about an hour ago, so I'm gonna
thank you.
sift through there and see what I can find. So look, I know you've answered this question many times. So I've watched a couple of interviews with you, but because of our show being targeted more to the Australian wrestling fans, I wanted to hear about your memories of the big Wembley Stadium, SummerSlam. Your father is this massive hero who, oh my gosh, what a moment for him. You would have been 5 years old, I think, at the time. I think it's 1992.
Yeah, just about 5. Yeah, I was just about, because my birthday is end of September, so I was turning 5. Yep. I remember it was my first ever train ride going from Warrington, Goulburn down to London. And it was just, oh my God. Like you said, it was a spectacle. It was amazing. And the actual arena, like, it was huge, like getting from A to B, going all around. And as you probably heard, we were sitting, my brother and myself and my dad's parents and family, we were in the royal box, which was like the nosebleeds. And that's where, like, I guess the queen would sit when she would watch events. So, watching the wrestling, it was like little Polly Pocket, little tiny boxes. And it was really hard to see. And you didn't know until you heard my dad's music and the crowd reaction. It was like, oh my God, he won. But it was, I wish I could go back like now, like as my age and do that. But I remember it well. And I remember we went to, I think it was Trafalgar Square, and we fed the pigeons and we spent a lot of time with my dad's family. But it's the best wrestling match I've ever seen. Obviously, my dad had to win. He wasn't going to lose in London.
There's no way.
But, you know, those two made history. Like, and I remember watching that match. I don't know, maybe like right before my dad died, we watched it, and it wasn't how it was then. It's not talked about how it's like now. Now it's like what's the word? Like a cult classic. I mean, obviously it was massive then, but now it's like it's becoming more and more popular. It's being more and more talked about. Younger audience is recognizing it, and it's like, wow, just, you know. And they sold out. They beat Michael Jackson and Madonna in the attendance.
Right, of course they would.
Yeah.
And you know, it must be so difficult to remember something when you were 5 years old. I remember when I was 5 years old, me and my family went to Disneyland in Los Angeles, and the only thing I remember is being in the gift shop. So that sucks.
Yeah, like you just remember like little bits,
little
like I was
bits
here
and there.
Yeah, like I remember where we sat, and it took forever getting to that seat. I remember getting there. I remember seeing Paul Bearer, Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior. I remember seeing them at the hotel. I remember Harry and I, because my mom and I and my dad and Harry and I, we were sharing a room together. Harry and I were in one bed. They were in another bed. Harry and I were fighting in one bed, and my dad was like, "Shut up!" I remember that. It's just like little things like that. But, you know, when you're that age and that's all you know, and your dad's the superstar, you don't really think, like when you were at Disney, like, you know, all you can remember is the gift shop, and it's like, so you did this and you did this and you did this and you did this and you traveled and that's all you remember.
Of all things, the gift shop. How boring is that? Like
the gift shop. I must have made a mark or something, but you must have seen something there.
I think I was just disappointed that we weren't going to be able to afford anything in there, and
oh yeah,
we got all like, that Disney. We got, you know how you have Disney dollars, and this isn't for sale for Disney dollars. I remember that.
Yeah.
So what I want on this show is, I really did want to avoid asking the same questions you always get, but some things I just need to talk about, and I want to avoid talking about tragedy as much as I can, because there is many more positives to the story of the Hart family in professional wrestling. And I wanted to bring up In Your House 16 Canadian Stampede, which I'm sure you've mentioned many times in interviews, but took place July 6, 97 at the Canadian Airlines Saddledome in Calgary. In my opinion, this is the biggest moment of glory for the family. You got Brian Pillman, you got Jim, you got your father as a European champion, your mum is Mrs. Calgary, Owen is the Intercontinental champion, and Brett is soon to be again the WWF champion. But this was such a special night because, you know, it's in Canada, it's the main event, it's the whole Hart Foundation out there together. How special was this of a night for all of you? And when you look back, how does it make you feel?
Well, I mean,
it's like the Hart family had triumphed the wrestling industry. This is like the moment.
That was, you know, it was a lot of good things going on around then. And as special and as good as that event was, it's at the same time, it was like the last time we were like actually united and all together as a family.
Right.
After that, you know, Brian Pillman died, and then like, you know, the European Championship, the thing happened at the In Your House with my dad. Not In Your House, one night only with my dad. And then after that, it was like the screw job, and then everything just kind of really went downhill. But I feel like that was the last time we were all happy and everything was looking up and together. And and then unfortunately didn't stay like that.
Right. So how did things change after Survivor Series?
Well, my dad went to WCW and my Uncle Jim went to WCW. I'm not sure what Owen's reasoning was, like why he didn't go. I think I believe Vince wouldn't let him out of his contract. I believe that, and I think he gave Owen a pay raise. He gave Owen more money. So I think it just worked out like that. And I think Owen was happy and didn't want to leave, and which was fair enough. I think my dad should have probably done the same thing looking back, but He went to WCW, and that was just like complete chaos. Like that's seeing my dad go to WCW. That for me, like that really changed things because he wasn't happy there, and he wasn't utilized well. I just never really watched the product when he was on there. Like when he was in WWF at the time, we watched it every week, all the time, except, when DX was on, my mom wouldn't allow us to watch them on TV. But, my dad, it was always WWF. And then when he was in WCW, it was like,
Yeah, it just didn't seem to be a right fit. They didn't do anything with him and Jim. You would have thought that they would have put him with Brett and maybe call it something different. Yeah.
Exactly. There was like no rhyme or reason for anything. Like nobody really knew what they were doing. They had him, I'm sure Mongo McMichael's a great guy, but it was like, why did they have Davey like all the time with him? All the time.
Just a horrible person to try and wrestle because Mongo was a fantastic footballer, but it just didn't transition into wrestling, unfortunately.
Yeah. And then, my dad got injured with the trap door, and like that shouldn't have happened at all. And, as I've said this in other interviews as well, and I'll say it in person, I'll say it again, my dad should have sued them.
Yeah, I agree. My
dad was never right after that. And he didn't know what that was in there. Nobody told him. And it was just kind of like, oh, well, shucks. And my dad got released after that. He got his papers, and it was like, yep. So it's like you're releasing him when now he's developed a drug problem because of this, and trying to get rid of the pain. And he's in rehab, and he gets served these these papers firing him. And it's like, that was so unfair. But I remember saying to my dad, I was like, you gotta do something about this. But my dad had like the mentality and mindset. He was like, well, I put my life on the line every time I'm in there. Like the accidents happen. But it's like, no, but this wasn't like a move that went wrong. This was, a blatant dangerous object.
It's a health and safety problem.
Health and safety. But, he just kind of got plodded on with it and didn't let him bother him as much as he could. But yeah, that wasn't good.
No. So I wanted to scale back to when he was in the WWF and you would get to visit the shows. Do you have any fun stories of playing around with the wrestlers? I guess the headbangers like to hang out with some of the kids a lot.
Headbanger, Sonny was, I love Shawn Michaels. Those are like the top ones. But my dad kind of just like always was like, don't bother them, like because they're working. So I was like, okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're a kid bored and it's like, and you know what those arenas are like? They're like cold and boring. It's all concrete, and what I would do is I would just kind of like sit with the sewing girls and be like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? What are you making? And they'd be like, and I'd be like, well, what if I like did that? And they're like, oh, if you touch the sewing machine. But I just got busy with them doing that. And I'd be like, oh, can I? And like, they let me like touch the stuff. And, if the wrestlers were busy, that was my plan B, was go bug the sewing girls.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, being a kid backstage during then, some of the wrestlers would from what I saw on Brett's Wrestling with Shadows documentary, it seemed like, if some of the kids were around, all the wrestlers were very nice and
they're really nice.
Would play and joke around. I think I remember seeing Blade being messing around with Sonny backstage in one of the scenes there. But have you met any wrestlers, from that era years later, now that you've grown up, and introduced yourself to them after having not seen them since you were a kid, and then being like, oh,
there's too many to name. Yeah, because none of them, they'll be like, oh my God, you grow. Like I saw Undertaker last year, and he was like, whoa, you grew up. I'm like, yeah. I saw Sonny years ago. Yeah, pretty much like almost all of them. There are some that are like, oh, hi, George. Like they know me. Mean Gene Okerlund, I hadn't seen, God rest his soul, I hadn't seen him in, oh God, probably since like SummerSlam or something. And he was like, oh, hey, Georgia. I'm like, you remember me? He's like, yeah, of course. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But yeah, that's a very good question, because most of them, they don't. Remember I saw Sting last year and I was like, oh, hi, I'm Davey's daughter. I just wanted to say hi. And he said, who's Davey? I'm like, oh, Davey Boy Smith. He was like, oh, yeah. And he was like, I still have our jackets when we were a tag team. And he's like, well, thanks for saying hi to me. I was like, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So look, I've got a whole mishmash of questions here, really, Georgia. I wanted to get your perspective of, were you watching when Brett was putting Jim into the Hall of Fame and what happened there? And
yeah.
It was crazy stuff. And I know Harry got involved, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a good question, because nobody's asked me that. Yeah, we were sitting in the audience. We were some ways back. Harry and I were more close to the entrance ramp, like where like Honky Tonk Man and everybody was coming out. We were more close to there, Harry and I were. And, you know, you're watching, but yeah, it was Brett and Natty talking, or it was Brett talking, and it was really quiet. And then like all of a sudden you just hear like people screaming in the audience, like, look out, look out. And I didn't really know what they were talking about. And you just see the guys like, and he's running. And it's like, nobody stopped him. This guy's just running. And then he skipped over the railing, and he just bolted right in there. But it was like Travis Brown and like some other people was like, right when they saw him, like, boom, they ran in. Like right when he went over the railing, they ran and got like, well, did what they could. But they were really, really quick with that. And yeah, he was wearing some like Rastafarian like beanie or something, some weird hat. And yeah, he was just a little skinny guy. And he went and like, he took Brett down. And that's when like everybody, it was like complete horror and shock. And it was like this horrible feeling in my stomach. I thought it was like a part of the show at first, but then I saw Brett's kids and Brett's daughters like crying, and I was like, and that's when I was like, Harry, you got to do something, like you gotta like. So Harry ran, and he went in there, and like you just see like the swarm of wrestlers. And as far as I'm aware of, like when people were watching it, the screen went black. I heard.
Yeah.
So yeah, from what I saw, swarm of wrestlers, and like I guess like Natty got some beatings like by accident, like hit in the head, because like she was in the middle of it. She was right there. And yeah, next thing I know, and my mom was trying to get involved too. My mom was like trying to grab him. Yeah, my mom was like, it was crazy. And they took him out, and I think Titus O'Neil actually like grabbed my mom and like pulled her off him. And he was taken out, and I think like his face was kind of like battered. And I know apparently like leading up to that, he had some weird like cryptic Facebook posts and was making comments about like how women shouldn't be like main eventing that match or something. He was just a complete wacko. Just yeah. But you know, thank God nothing more happened. Like it was like that night it was like, can't eat a drink. Jesus Christ.
Well, yeah, props to Brett for maintaining his composure after that.
Yeah.
Continuing and telling some great stories.
Yeah, he got right up, went right up, right back up, kept talking, didn't even like miss a beat.
Yeah.
Didn't let it shake him. He was just like, okay. And then I saw him at the end of it, and he was fine. He did go to the hospital to make sure like there wasn't any, you know, injuries of any kind, because maybe like I don't know, but he was fine. And it was like, gosh, jeez. But it's just sad and annoying and so unnecessary when things like that happen, because it's like, now I don't know what they're going to do for the next Hall of Fame, with whether, you know, people can come or not. I have no idea. But it's like, you know, and they have events, it's like they have to be changing security more and more and more, and they have to do it. It's because of wackos like that.
I think maybe they shouldn't set it out the way that they did, with everyone standing in a ring. I think it should just everyone be on a stage again.
Yeah, I know that's what they were saying. They were like, next year we're not doing that same layout.
Yeah.
Which is, yeah.
Well, that's crazy, and I didn't realize that you're actually in the audience at the time. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Right beside Harry. Yeah. Yep.
So speaking of Harry, I want to ask you about you two as siblings. You know, growing up, did you two ever get up to too much mischief that would get your parents wound up? Would Harry pick on you ever? Would he try and wrestle you as kids? And
yes, he would. He was he was constantly trying to wrestle with me, trying to put me in the Bob Backlund chicken wing that move. Like, we would go grocery aisle and I'd be like, "Mommy, help!" That all the time. Yeah, because he didn't have a brother, so it was like.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought he'd be pick on you a bit because he had no one else to wrestle. So
exactly, he had no one else, so it was like, "Yep, okay." She's gonna get, yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your dad going back to the WWF after his run in WCW. Obviously, he wasn't happy. He got himself back into some really good shape when he came back to the WWF. What are your thoughts and memories on that stint there? Because he seemed like he came in like a house on fire. He was such an integral part of the show. And then all of a sudden, he was no longer on television.
Yeah, I remember he was really training a lot. He was really dieting. I remember he was excited to go back. And I remember looking at, he had, WWE, they had somebody that like sketched out their outfits and different designs. And that's when the jeans look came along. And so he was, I don't think he was like thrilled to be wrestling in the jeans because I think he thought they were a bit uncomfortable, but it was a new look, a new attitude time, new era. So he was all for it. And I remember they wanted him to grow, if you didn't know that, they wanted him to grow a beard.
Really?
They did. And he was trying, but he just said it was just way too itchy. So he didn't stick with it. And I remember because that last run, that was going to be like it. Like I think he was going to retire in 2004. That's when his contract was done.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was like that. He wanted it to count his last run there. And like you said, he came in there, boom, boom, boom. And then, I think looking back on it, I think he probably should have had some more time to not heal, but it's just so many things that happened from like his mom passing away and, his injury, his sister passing away, Owen, that situation. And then it was like right after that, like literally like, I don't know, 2 months later, he went back, 3 months later. And I think he probably just should have maybe just taken like some time for himself. But when that was all going on, he was just like, no, I think he was feeling pressure with his age as well. Like, I'm not Davey at SummerSlam 92. I'm not 29 anymore. I'm getting older and, I got to make money and I feel like he had some pressure. So that's why he kind of rushed back and was like, this is the time to do it. Yeah. But I think he should have, he was a human being as well. Like he's got to relax a bit, just slow down. But he didn't. So I think that ultimately, kind of cut his time there short because I think he was having, I remember my dad was, I don't want to get too deep here, but I remember just seeing him like really upset sometimes, just like really upset, just things would get to him. And like, he, with his mom and his sister and Owen, just things would just like bring him down. And I remember him like not leaving his bed for a long time, just really sad. And that makes me sad and then him having to go and wrestle and.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
So after a period of time where he's not in the WWF anymore, there is a time period where he has a couple of tag team matches with his son. I just wanted to hear about that and if, I don't know if you were there when they happened or if Harry's told you a little bit about them, but I just wanted to hear about, it seems like a real special thing for the father and son tag team.
Yeah, so I didn't watch the matches in person, but I remember you know, I think you and I are the same age, right? Pretty much. Yeah. So it was like May 2002, and my dad hadn't done any shows in a long time. And I remember he was, I can't remember who contacted who or how that happened, but Harry and him got booked on a show in Winnipeg, Canada, and they they drove down there for the matches. And I'm just glad that, you know, my dad and Harry had the opportunity to work together. And I know my dad, you know, if he had still been here, he would have worked with Harry more and more and more. He wanted them to be like the new British Bulldogs.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like, you know, their first time really working together. And Harry, I think, was like really nervous. And I don't think he like wanted to let my dad down or anything, but it was good matches. And when you watch my dad's documentary on WWE coming up, though, I think they're going to play it. So, and I think I've played them on my dad's Instagram. So again, if you look back, you can rewatch the matches. But it was just like a small, like a little arena type thing, just a small independent show. And from there, he was supposed to be going to England for like, I think it was like 9 months or something. He was going to be doing shows and appearances. So this was kind of like this was like the beginning of him doing that, leading up to that and getting him ready. And yeah, I remember they came back and they had a lot of fun. And then it was like 10 days later, or maybe 8 days later, my dad died. So yeah, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's intense. And again, my condolences to you and your family. He is an absolute legend. And if my nan knows who the British Bulldog is, then he must be famous. He must be good at what he did, because my nan only knows him and Rowdy Roddy Piper. They're the only two that she knows. So if,
Wow.
if she's aware, then that means something in the most isolated city in the world here, Perth, Western Australia.
And if you didn't know, my dad lived in Australia for like 5 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did. With his
When was
family.
that?
Yeah. Oh God, I can't remember. Somebody actually asked that. My dad's frequently asked questions that I answered. I had to ask my mom where it was. It was where was it? Somebody was like, did Davey ever go to Australia? Okay. She doesn't say. So I'm guessing she doesn't even know. It just said Davey lived there for 5 years. But I can't remember where exactly it was. But yeah, he could have been the Australian Bulldog.
I think one of the most important things of this interview is to talk about him going into the Hall of Fame. And I know it's been disappointing with 2020 being the worst year in existence, but you know, he is finally inducted, and a man by the name of Michael Finney, I hope he can find some other things to do with his time after this, because he spent so much time,
effort and work.
My gosh. So you know, maybe he'll be doing some other stuff, trying to get some other Hart family members into the Hall of Fame. But he was finally announced, and this must be so meaningful for you and your family.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like we were so close, and like now it's like so far away now. But yeah, it was a long time coming. And, you know, I couldn't believe it. When I heard it, I was like, what? I feel like until it actually happens, I don't know. It's crazy. Like you said, I'm like disappointed. And, you know, what I'm most disappointed with is because my granddad, you know, he's got health issues, and he's, you know, getting older and older. And I really, really, really wanted him to be, to see this. And it was all booked and ready to go, and they were all excited for it. Now it's like this happens, and I'm like, you know, obviously it just can't be helped, but it's just like, come on.
Yeah.
The world, come on, let's come. Oh God. So that's the most frustrating thing for me.
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a vaccine now, and hopefully that's going to lead to things getting back to normal. We can finally have this amazing moment where your father is inducted into the Hall of Fame like he should have been many years ago.
Yeah.
What do you hope your dad's legacy is to everyone out there?
What do I hope?
Yeah.
I just hope that, where do you even begin with that? I just want his legacy to live on and to continue. And I hope that, with what I'm doing with his social media and his website and his new merchandise. And I just want, because my dad, he's an icon, and I want it all to continue. I don't want it to stop. Just like with Bruce Lee, for instance. My dad worked so hard, and he was and is the greatest British wrestler of all time. He was the best British wrestler that came out of England, and that's a big. He's an icon based on that. He was like the British Hulk Hogan, and it's crazy because when I was filming with WWE a few weeks back, and we were watching SummerSlam, and I'm like, do you guys realize how my dad was 29 when he filmed this? And they were like, what? Your dad was 29? I'm like, yeah. And all these stories and things and memories and moments, you'd think my dad was here for 100 years. And it's no, he did so much, and that, nearly 40 years of life. And on his social media that I've got, and his website and everything, it's never going to end. I've got so much content for years to come, years and years. I mean, obviously, as somebody mentioned to me, the family photos, I might run out of those, but every day it's a new video, a new picture, a new this, and it's he met and went to so many places in little time. It's just crazy. And it's just his legend, his legacy, it's never going to die. And I want to continue that.
That's great. I really appreciate that. And it is important. It is important. He made such an impact on my life. Your Uncle Brett made a massive, I had a poster of him on my wall. Owen, I loved Owen. I loved when I came out, when I used to wrestle, I came out to his theme song once just because I just love Owen so much. And I was just like, I'm doing it. I'm just coming out to his theme song. I don't care what anyone thinks. I love your family, and I love what your family has done for the wrestling business. And your family is still in the business, still doing some great stuff. And Natty, your brother, they're killing it right now. And she just doesn't seem to age. She still looks the exact same as she did when she first debuted. You must be very proud of Natty.
Yeah, I'm very proud of Natty. And last year when she wrestled in Saudi Arabia, that was a huge moment. And as a female and as, her cousin, I was really proud. And what you said before, when you're talking about the impact my dad made on you, it's crazy because when you mention that, it's just, I get swarms of messages and just people that he's impacted. And I'm going to show you something. Give me 2 seconds here.
Okay.
So I got this. This is a box. This box here is my dad's fan mail.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't there's even more and more boxes of it, but it's all these people that, made it's just
oh my gosh.
And just people that are you saved my life. You did this, everything you've done. I love you. I'm crying as I write this. It's never ending.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So when you were talking about that, it just made me think of he's impacted, then and today, so many people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this guy right here, when I did my little figurine wrestling when I was a kid, he had a hell of a win-loss record. I'm telling you right now.
Hell of a win-loss record. That's so funny. Yeah. I hope he was world champion in those days.
Oh, definitely. Brett won it several times. Owen didn't, unfortunately. Owen had a hard time. You can see that the paint's come off him. But you know what? Owen was probably one of my favorite figurines to play with when I was a kid because he was just the limbs moved so well and you could do so much with it. That's so nerdy that I brought that on when I'm talking.
No, that's cool.
I just thought you'd think it was cool that I had, their figurines because, man, those guys, I just adore them so much. I adore you too, Georgia. You're such a lovely young lady, and I say young lady because you're the same age as me, because that makes me feel young by calling you a young lady. I was born in January 1987, so I was excited.
So you're early. You're an early bird.
I was excited to talk to someone for the first time on the show that's actually younger than me, because we interview wrestlers and they happen to mostly be in their 50s or 60s. So I want to know what's currently happening in your life, and what you're up to, and if you want to plug anything.
Well, I can say this: you'll be seeing me more on TV, so just keep an eye out for that. You'll be seeing some more of that. Just right now, I was working with iHeart Media, but as everything, it's been very, very well. They've had to end a lot of things because when I was working with them, they just did all events. There's no events going on. Yeah. So with that being said, from there, I just really was like, okay, I just really wanted to get my dad's stuff out there while I had time. And, it was like either sit around and be bored or, what can I do that's going to be fulfillment and positive. And I just had like an idea, like, how about we do this with my dad? And after this, I've got a phone call with the company for a British Bulldog gin.
Really?
Yeah. So since that also happened, I'm doing all these, like, talking to different companies and businesses and different ventures. Like we were saying, like, just got to keep it going. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing there. And looking at that, I'm like, okay, well, if I've done all that and I did all that in the pandemic, what can I do? And like I told you, I've done some filming and I want to continue doing that. I want to keep doing that. Right now, it's just kind of, it's a bit tricky.
Yeah.
But as of right now, I'm just busy with my dad's stuff, just getting more merchandise, more content, more videos, more whatever I can do for you guys and for my dad. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really appreciate that. And so you mentioned earlier something about a documentary.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There's a documentary coming out. Is that on the WWE Network eventually? I was going to say, because I was thinking earlier, I'm like, why isn't there a British Bulldog documentary? There needs to be. He had such an interesting career, and he got, from the couple of times he went to WCW, he was in Japan, he'd done all this stuff, Dynamite Kid. There's so much interesting stuff. So when can people possibly expect that?
There's not a set date on it because they have to still come back and film me for more things. Just when they were here, they were here from like 7 a.m. till like 10 p.m. And, they came from Orlando. WWE did that. So it was like, okay, they got to go home. So we're just kind of waiting till the holidays finish. But we did back to back filming for that. But last pay-per-view that they had, they showed a clip of it, pushing it. I don't know if you saw it. It was 2021 Icons.
Oh, okay.
So it's my dad, it's Rob Van Dam, it's Beth Phoenix, it's Yokozuna, it's Lex Luger. I don't know if I'm missing somebody, but those are it. Those are the icons that they're showing. So it's probably going to be maybe around WrestleMania or maybe in the summertime. But yeah, it's going to be really good. And they touch a lot on, what's going on with my dad's stuff today. And, Harry continuing on the wrestling legacy and carrying on the Davey Boy Smith Jr. But yeah, it's going to be really good. And I've been working really, really hard on it.
Awesome. I'm very excited for it.
Thank you.
And Georgia, I know I promised you something when I emailed you.
Yeah.
I promised that I was going to introduce you to my cat.
Yes.
It's important because he's never been on the show before. He's just sleeping over there. He's 19 years old.
19. Wow.
He is a grumpy old bastard. So when I wake him up, he's not going to be happy. But I'm just going to grab him and I'm going to introduce him to you.
Grab him. What's his name again?
Brian.
Brian. Of course, his name's Brian. Okay.
I know. I knew putting the headphones on was going to be difficult. Here he is.
There he is. Wow, look at him. He looks like my cat Rocky.
Yeah? Look at that grumpy face.
He doesn't look like he's 19. He looks like a kitten.
He does. He's a little boy, but he's a little old boy. And when I picked him up, he made this noise, went, "Arr." So I know he's not happy about the fact that I picked him up, but
he's got drama written all over him.
That's it. I'm sorry, mate. I'm sorry, but you had to meet Georgia, my new friend Georgia. Okay?
Cutest little, I love him.
Cutest little old bastard going today.
Looks like his name would be Cuddles or something, but Brian.
It's we like giving pets really just human names.
I like that.
I get a kick out of that.
Behind you, question.
Sorry.
Behind you, are those two spray bottles or are those birds? Like
my girlfriend bought these two birds recently. They're like ornaments. I don't know if I can reach, but
wow.
Things that go in your backyard. It's a parrot.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the other one's a cockatoo. We've got a flamingo out here. We've got some garter gnomes. Things are wild here in Perth, Western Australia.
Oh, yeah, I bet. It's so crazy seeing you in like the pitch black, and here it's just getting started.
I've been drinking the red wine. You've probably been having a coffee or some water or something like that.
Plus some water. Yeah, I had some coffee earlier, but yeah.
Well, I really want to thank you for your time on the show. We do have one final segment before we go.
Yeah.
This segment is called 5 Second Frenzy. You have 5 seconds to answer each question. Even if you don't make the 5 seconds, it's okay, because everyone we've had on this show has been a wrestler over the age of 50 and they need more than 5 seconds to answer anything.
I'm not good with questions. All right.
But it's stuff just to get to know you. Okay, Georgia Smith, first question. Your favorite wrestler?
British Bulldog.
Knew it. Your favorite match?
SummerSlam 92, baby. Hell
yeah. Your favorite book?
Favorite book. What is my favorite book? I've got a favorite book. The Princess Bride.
Wonderful. Your favorite TV show?
Sex and the City.
Oh, awesome show. I don't care. Sure. Boys, if you're watching this, I'm telling you, Sex and the City, you will learn a lot about girls. The way that they talk is exactly how girls talk. I'm telling you. Your favorite film?
Princess Bride.
Very good. You and my girlfriend will get along famously. She's tried to make me watch that many times. Your favorite musical artist?
I'm going to go with Michael Jackson.
Very cool. Very cool. Favorite food?
Sushi.
Your favorite restaurant?
Oh, favorite restaurant. What's my favorite restaurant? Like ever, or like just in general? Ever. Oh my God, I don't even know. I'll just say some sushi restaurant.
Okay, that's cool. Not too much pressure. It's okay if you can't answer things. Favorite alcoholic beverage?
Oh God. Favorite alcoholic beverage? I'm gonna go with a white wine, like any kind of chilled white wine.
Excellent. So this question's an interesting one because I've only had males on the show. So usually the question is your favorite female body part. Now, most of the time, the answers are very interesting. Some people say eyes, the brain, the whole package. Some say boobs and bum. But now I'm going to ask you your favorite male body part, or your
favorite male body part.
What's something that you notice about guys that you like?
I like him just in general, or like is it I like a man that's got this, or is it I think I like that about a guy? Like what would you what's
I don't know. If you're checking out a guy, what's the first thing you're going to check out?
Their legs. If they've got big legs, because I like a man with bigger legs.
Nice strong legs. Okay,
yeah.
Fair enough. I think Samantha on Sex and the City mentioned Michael Jordan's thighs once. That's how much I've watched that show. And the last one, Georgia, I don't think you've actually sworn on the show, but your favorite curse word?
F-U-C-K.
That's the general answer we always get. So thank you very much for joining me for 5 Second Frenzy, Georgia. And thank you very much for joining me for the show. I really appreciate your time and having the opportunity to learn a bit about you, your father, your family. As I said before, your family means so much to me. Posters on my wall, books I've bought, documentaries I've bought, DVDs I've bought, figurines I've bought, and I gave them a great push in my figurine fed. So I want to thank you again for your time, and I'm very proud of you as a fan of the Bulldog.
Thank you.
For keeping his legacy and his memory alive, because it's important that it's alive. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. And I appreciate so much your love and appreciation and support. And thank you. Thank you. It's just, as I told you about before, this year's been, oh God, but I've met a lot of great people like you doing these podcasts recently. And, you know, I didn't really do podcasts a lot in the past. And, now I'm getting more into it, and I like it, and it's talking to nice people like you, and yeah, so thank you.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, and you are now hereby crowned the queen of the WZWA Network as our first female guest. So Georgia, again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone out there for watching the WZWA Network. This was a great time here with my new friend, Joose Smith. What a great chat. And we will see you down the road next time. Thank you.